I'm going to begin, Anthony, just by asking what it was about this story that made you want to tell it, that made you think this is going to be my debut feature.
There wasn't a lot of planning. It was actually very kind of intuitive, or it was a kind of spur of the moment decision. I saw a documentary and I got completely hooked on these stories, these personal accounts of a terror attack, which I'd only known, from a real distance. I'd only known the Mumbai attacks, as most people probably would have. Some burning buildings on television, as some distraught faces running from it. Unfortunately, in the years since then, it's only become more relevant, and it seems like now every couple of weeks, if not more frequently, especially in America, you hear these stories of mass shootings and other things, and they kind of just, we just kind of they just get into this grey zone where people don't even sort of recognise sort of what had happened there. And I think, to get to the point more so, I think that in the Mumbai attacks you had all these different people from all these different races, religions, ethnicities, from vastly different socioeconomic backgrounds who, when the bullets started flying, they really came together to help one another. And in some cases, they were like perfect strangers. And they survived through grueling circumstances despite their differences. So.
I was wondering too about the challenge in sort of making it cinematic, because I guess as a filmmaker you have an obligation to enhance tension, to make it suspenseful, and to have kind of these sort of action sort of set pieces. But at the same time, you don't ever want to deviate too far away from the real happenings. I was wondering about that kind of balance for you, and making something really cinematic but staying very true to the story.
To be honest. In multiple sort of cases with the film, we actually had to scale back what had occurred, meaning there was no shortage of tense situations out of the thousands of stories. And, we kind of had to moderate that rather than amp it up. There were so many stories that came back during these attacks, which just made your nerves chilled. And it was a challenge to sort of to figure out whose character's subjectivity we'd be inside of. And because we had interviewed so many different people, we ended up making what was an ensemble film that sort of fishtailed through multiple perspectives. And I think one of the big filmmaking challenges was, how do you put the audience in the mindset of character A and then go to B and back to A and C and D and all of this. And that was a craft challenge that we had to face.
Because I was reading that you had the original transcripts to some of the sort of intercepted phone calls. I mean, what was that like? And was any of the dialogue taken verbatim in this as well?
Yeah. So one of our producers is a lawyer, and he was friends with the prosecutor, the defense counsel, and the judge of the sole surviving terrorist in his court case. So through that court case, we got a whole lot of transcripts of the phone call communications between the terrorists and their handlers, and they were chilling in their in how mundane they were. It wasn't like rah rah rah, go kill all these people. It was just like everyday things. The way that they were speaking about things, and we wanted to have that kind of what's the word? We want to have that sort of sense of realism there. So yeah, a lot of what you hear in terms of the communications between the handlers and the gunmen to be, it was verbatim. Yeah,
it's very fine. I'm just wondering what's next. A comedy, perhaps?
Not a comedy. No, I'm working on a true story. It's a period piece set in the American South in the 70s. So that's what we've got coming up.
Cool, looking forward to it. Thanks so much for your time today. Cheers.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Cheers.
Ladies and gentlemen, you're watching Hey You Guys!
Hey You Guys, huh?
Hey, you guys.
Is that from the Goonies?
It is indeed, yes.
Nice.